Good morning. Hi. If you have ever come to a Hopeful Holler Makes podcast or video cast, I'm not sure exactly what to call it. It's not really a podcast because it's on video, but I put out a couple of episodes, a few I guess, and I kept telling myself that I would do more, and then I never did. And so I'm back. So I was really motivated because my favorite band, Blue October, started following me on Instagram. And that may sound really silly, but it's just in combination with so many other things in my life that I'm really motivated to do this. So I promise I will learn. I'll learn where to look. If the sound is terrible, I will learn. I'm committed to do this once a month. And so I just want to introduce you to the Walker Camp where I am located. My plan is for this to be my future location, my filming location. So this is such a beautiful place. These lovely people came into my life when I worked at, pardon me, it's early in the morning. So this is a Friday morning, I should have said. Welcome. They came into my life when I worked at a 19th century living museum here in Fort Worth called the Log Cabin Village. And the gentleman, Pat, the husband, the shepherd of these lovely sheep. Do you see those little dots right there? Those are 20 sheep that the Walkers have. And with a little twinkle in his eye, he's, from my perspective, I'm gonna go ahead and sit up because my back is starting to hurt. He said, do you think you could do something with about 150 pounds of wool from Rambouillet sheep? I kind of freaked out. I said, please leave your phone number at the front desk and I will be contacting you in the future. And so I did. And now here I am. That was, it was a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And so since that point in time, we have become friends and I come out here twice a week. Mr. Pat is a Marine who is no longer serving our country in that way, but you know, once a Marine, always a Marine. So he is a fabulous shepherd with these sheep. They need consistent care and love and attention, and he knows how to meet all of those needs. And so it's been really incredible for me over this past year and a half to learn more about that side of our dearly loved craft and the history of shepherding sheep. And we're just exploring what we're gonna do with all of this wool. So yeah, it's been amazing, and I get to be here. I've gotten to witness 2 shearings, and the sheep are tenderly sheared by a man who knows what he's doing. This year especially, it was incredible to watch the shearing. I was able to receive the fleece off of the sheep as the sheep were sheared, and it's just an amazing experience. And I feel like I want to include my friends, people who also love wool as much as I do and just love this craft. I'm not always going to be working with wool. I love charity projects, and a lot of times the charity projects are made with acrylics, but this is part of my life, the wool, the sheep, this lovely family, and I just want to expose them to our amazing community. So I recognize that I didn't introduce myself. I just kind of jumped right in as if you know who I am. My name is Michelle Holler, and I'm coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas. And I deeply love this craft and the community that I get to be a part of, as I know you do too. So it's taken me a long time to work myself up to do this, to breathe through the fear of just putting myself out there. But I know you're safe people, right? We love and support each other. I have just experienced that so much over the last 30 years of all the crafts that I've participated in the communities. So a little bit of my history, my personal history with the crafts are I started cross stitching in the late 80s when I first married my husband. And well, it goes back, but I'll get to that story later. When I first started consistently crafting was in the late 80s, and that was cross stitch. We had gone over to a childhood friend of my husband's, and this couple had been married for about 10 years, and her walls were covered with cross stitch. And I began to ask her some questions. I remember having seen that on my grandmother's walls and my grandfather's walls. And my grandmother was a very artistic woman. And I was intrigued. I was like, wait a minute. You take that one X or cross, and you do that over and over and over, and it makes a picture. So pixels weren't anything that I knew anything about back then. You know, it was the late 80s. So I didn't know anything about pixels. It blew my mind. I was amazed and hooked. So I started with a cross stitch, and I stayed with cross stitch for quite a while. I would say until 1995. And in 1995, my daughter was born, and quilting was really calling out to me. And so I began the journey of quilting. And at that time, we were trying to get out of debt. We had credit card debt. And so I remember going to the quilting store and wanting to make my husband a big blue quilt. And it involved all sorts of different fabrics. And it was gonna cost over $100, which was mind-boggling to me. And the sweet lady at the quilting store said, if you want to go ahead and select your fabrics, put those aside, I'll save those for you, and then you can come in week by week whenever you have a little bit of money and just purchase those fabrics then. And so that's exactly what I did. That's how I purchased all the fabrics to make my husband the big blue quilt. We call it the Big Blue Monster, and that continues to lay on our bed. And I'm very proud of it. It makes me weepy. So that was many, many years ago. I believe I finished it in 1998. I did it all in secret when he would go to work. And so that was my quilting phase. And so while I'm on my quilting phase, handwork is in my family. I'll go into that more as I continue to podcast. But my grandmother made this out of my great-grandmother's polyester suits that I remember her wearing in the 1970s. So I thought it'd make a wonderful backdrop. My grandmother made one for me, my mom, and my sister, I believe. And so it's very special to me. So that's my quilting phase. And then after quilting, that is when knitting really, I began to question, could I learn this new language? It, more than any other thing that I had done, seems like it was just a different language. And I've not been real confident in this was then, in my ability to learn new things like that. And it, to me, seemed impossible. Like some people could do that, but I couldn't. I didn't get that it was learnable, that I could practice and I would get better, and that it was okay to mess up. And so this was 2001 is when it really took hold, and so I continued to quilt and cross stitch throughout those years. And then I began this amazing, wonderful journey of knitting and then crochet. So with knitting, I'll tell you the story about that. My husband, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Texas, but his family lived in East Texas in Longview. And having a little girl, as much as I love being a mama, I enjoyed being able to get away into this wonderful, amazing store called Stitch and Stuff in Longview, Texas. They're still there. Two sisters who one crocheted and one knit, and they were ladies of a certain age, and I just love them so much. So I would love to escape to this store for about an hour, and then I would come home and I would have my project. And this was before the internet is what it is today, so YouTube's no. Finding someone who knit was a true challenge. I remember being very frustrated, feeling like, why does no one knit? And they were out there, I didn't know them. And so I began my search for community, for people around here who knew how to knit. I've never been a big knitting group person up until recently. I have a lot of motivation to do so. I really do enjoy engaging with people, but sometimes, well, I can just feel very overwhelmed. But I think that's where yoga has really helped me to just breathe and really focus on the person that I'm with, instead of allowing all of the energies from everybody to just overwhelm me. So more on that later. So the knitting, back then, again, let's see, Ravelry, it didn't exist. None of these things existed. So I just kept plugging on with my projects. We would come home for a few months, and then we would go back out to Longview, and I would pick another project, get the yarn, get the pattern, come home, mess it up, try and figure out what mistakes I had made, pretty much on my own. And so if the mess was too big, I would take it to the sweet ladies, Miss Frances, and I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember the other lady's name. Sue, Miss Sue and Miss Frances. And then they would help me, and I was amazed when I would just hand my hot mess to them and they would say, oh, this is what you do. And now I'm that person. So it's a gift, and it does make me feel weepy. I'm a weeper by nature, to recognize passing on our craft and how important that is. And my daughter is 23 years old, and now I am a woman of a certain age, and I'm recognizing the responsibility and the joy of continuing to pass this on and share it excuse me, share it however I can. Excuse me. So I need to say, if crying makes you feel uncomfortable, this just might not be the podcast for you. But I don't sit around and cry because I'm sad all the time. I cry most often, although I do cry for those reasons too, when things just touch me. That's what happens. The joy comes out of my eyeballs. I need a shirt that says that. The joy comes out of my eyeballs. So I'm really thankful to be able to be here with you again in this lovely place. And I've stayed on that knitting fiber journey. I haven't quit. And it's gotten me through so many hard things in life. Hence the name A Hopeful Holler Makes is the name of my podcast. It's the name of my Instagram. And I don't believe I have all the answers, but I know what has been working for me in the past few years, and I want to be able to bless others, if somehow I can, with what I do know. So here I am. A Hopeful Holler Makes. Welcome. So I have a few projects, and I'm going to try and keep it around 30 minutes. maybe just a tad bit under. It may grow. This is an evolving idea, and we'll just see what comes of it. So I want to begin by showing you one of my favorite things. So as I said, I am a spinner as well. I love to do spinning demonstrations here in Fort Worth for Juju Knits. I often volunteer. I have done that for years on my own. I just like to go out to different schools, especially low-income schools. That's how I grew up. And I want children to be able to see something that maybe other than Minecraft they've never seen before. And so this is a beautiful bat. I love that the sun's shining right now, but it is still kind of blown out. Look at this amazing bat. So for those of you who don't know what a bat is wool, and for this one, tinsel, almost like what you would have put on your Christmas tree in the 1970s. And a person, for this one, this is called Butterfly Girl. I absolutely love Butterfly Girl. She just got on Instagram, but I've been buying from her since 2005 when I started spinning. She was a part of a spinning group that we used to get together and spin, and I have always loved her stuff. And look at this, y'all. She just created these cards. I believe her daughter designed that. And what's really funny, I'm all about connections and quote coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences, y'all. But I don't know if you can see my blue butterfly. Isn't that beautiful? We match. I don't have one of my 4 spinning wheels out here, but one day I'll bring my spinning out because I think that would just be amazing. But again, I want to let you know about Butterfly Girl. She's awesome. So what I'm going to use this for is a wrap. So what I'm going to do, I have my drop spindle here. I'll go ahead and spin a little bit. And I like to, generally my hands naturally, because I've been doing it so long, I have to really work on letting a lot of wool go through my hands, because naturally I will typically spin something very fine. So I have to almost work at creating an art yarn, which is really cool looking. So I don't know if you can see that. It's super fun. So I'll use this in a weaving project. I am not a super skilled weaver, but Kathy Utz in Wimberley, Texas does really good weaving workshops. Oops. And I have a dear friend named Kristen, and she's doing classes over at West 7th Wool for weaving. I think that's pretty cool. So this is my drop spindle, and I'm just allowing a whole bunch of wool to pass through. You can see there's a big lump and bump there. So I think that purposefully going into something like this, if you're just learning and thinking, well, I can't spin anything that's perfect, super fine or thin or anything, I think it's a great idea to start with a bigger drop spindle like this and then get you a really fun bat. And so that way, whoops, that way once you finish, you're gonna have all of this amazing yarn. Oh, look at that, it got cloudy so you can really see. You're gonna have all this really cool, amazing yarn that is exactly the way it's supposed to be. Not super perfect and thin and fine. It's the way art yarn looks. So that's one project that I'd like to show you today. And here is another one. Babies. I love babies. I always love babies. So this, look at this. Look at this. It's super soft. I used something called fairy cake. And my friend Julie at Juju Knits here in Fort Worth is selling this from her yarn camper. And you can just look up hashtag binding community and find us over there. I'm a teacher for Juju Knits here in Fort Worth, and we may end up doing a class on this at some point. I don't know, we'll see. But look at this, it has these little tassels. I just made this up. It's just a granny square, and I used the colors in the cake. So the cake comes with, I believe it's 4 different colors. This one came with a green, but I used that for a baby hat. I'm teaching a class that's advanced beginners. But this is super soft, and it has these little tassels on the end. And that brings back memories when my daughter was a baby. She had moo cow. That was what she carried around all the time. And to soothe herself, she would take the tail of the cow, which was yarn, black yarn, and she would kind of stick it up her nose. Do your babies do funny things like that? Your grandbabies or your babies, or are you like me? Do you have grown babies and you have those sweet memories? So that's why I added the tassels here to the wubby. That's why I like to call it a wubby, to sleep with. So that's a finished project that I did for Juju Knits. And so I continue to carry on my love for cross stitch. So if you're not interested in cross stitch, you may just want to go away for now, because the rest of it will be about cross stitch. I only have a few more minutes. But this is Stitch Mania. So it's where all of the cross stitchers, a lot of the cross stitchers, are starting a different project every day to work on throughout the year. So they might have 31 projects to work on for the rest of the year. I can't handle that much. Maybe it's because I am multi-craftual and I already have so many different projects going on, and I'm usually pretty open to say, well, what's another project? I don't have to finish it. I can just start a bunch, because I really do finish things. It just may take a couple of years, and that's okay with me. It's more than okay with me. I only have a couple of projects that, you know, are about 10 years old. One of them is a quilt for my daughter. I've shown it on my Instagram, but I'll show bits and pieces of it. So I want to show this. This I like a lot. So this is called the Stitcher's Prayer. And I'm going to read you what it says. I pray that risen from the dead I may in glory stand, a crown perhaps upon my head, but a needle in my hand. And I just thought that was so cute. Love the flowers. So that's one project. Oops, all my bags. You see all my bags? I'm like Chelsea from the Real Housewives of Cross Stitch. I do love a good Ziploc bag. So that's what I have all mine in. So I've put, oops, this is gonna be tricky. I have put a few stitches in this. And I am also like Priscilla and Chelsea. I copied them. I like the tea-dyed, coffee-dyed stain fabric. So that's what this is. It's on 28 count. So I'm going to set this aside. And come to the next one. And I'm going to do like them next time. I'm going to already have it out because I can see this is a hot mess to do. Everything's dropping to the ground. This is called Mermaid Berry by the Sea. Isn't that pretty? So there's all kinds of things you can do. She has various patterns. The one that I chose looks like this. I'm actually almost finished. Look at that. Yeah, the sun comes out and it blows it out. But I love being outside, so maybe we'll just deal. And I know there's shadows and all kinds of things, but I do love nature, so it seems fitting that we would be outside. Where am I on time? I'm fixing to have to say goodbye. This goes so fast, y'all. Okay, I'm not going to show you this one. I'll show you this one next time. I don't have any stitches in it. But it's a pattern that I'm going to start in May to work on. It's called Fall Bounty Berry. And that's so sweet. So these berries, you can fill them with walnuts and they make great pin cushions. Because we all know we have needles everywhere if you're a cross stitcher. Let's see. Okay, and this one, whoops, this is my bee, and I'm especially proud of it. Oh, let me pull that pattern off. If you follow me on Instagram, look at that. Let's see. I have posted a few pictures of my progress. Look at this little needle minder. I got this from Juju Knits. It's Pearl. Her yarn, excuse me, her yarn camper. And look at that, because I need a seam ripper all the time. Because I mess up, I have to take those stitches out so I can put my needles up there and my seam ripper. And this is on linen, and I like to use a Q-snap on linen just for me. And then I like to do the in-hand method without a Q-snap when I'm using the larger. So I use both methods. Well, hello there, Bobby. Come here. You want to come say hi? So the Walkers have some dogs. Come here. Come here. This is Bobby. Come here. And I was going to tell you about that bee. It's called the Blue Flower Quilting Bee, original design by Janine McGowan. And so this is the picture of that. And so anyway, that's what I'll be working on. Those are some of the projects you'll be seeing on my Instagram. And I'll be catching you up on other projects. I kind of decided at the last minute that I was going to start this today. I almost backed out, so I didn't get everything that I wanted to bring, but I will in the future. So now is the time where I want to talk for a minute about Blue October. Because it's my podcast, and I can, and I love Blue October. So Blue October is a band that I absolutely adore. I have, over the years, been blessed enough to become friends with their family. They are very down-to-earth folks. Justin and Jeremy. Justin is the lead singer, and Jeremy is the drummer. And their mama and Justin's in-laws, Justin's wife's parents and sister, hi Bobby, have been very kind to me. Say hi. Hi. Over the years. And so I just want to do all I can to introduce folks to Blue October, because their music has really gotten me through the last 4 years. I'll share more about that as the months go by. But I love them. I love them. So go listen to Blue October. You might want to start with I Hope You're Happy. And I do hope you're happy. And it looks like Bobby might be knocking over our camera any second now. So this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I know many of us crafters, let's say artisans. How about that? Because I think of crafter like glue and pasta and construction paper. So maybe I'm a little technical, but I believe we are craft people as far as it takes craftsmanship. And I believe we are artisans because it takes focus and dedication to continue to stick with a project to the very end. I don't want to get super serious about it, but I do feel like it's more than just a hobby. Kind of like Blue October is more than just a band to me. And so I love that Bobby's over there. I thank you for dropping by. Remember, everything's better with wool. And I'll see you next time. Bye.